But so when we have a suspicion, we are doing hundreds of tests in a few seconds from 4 or 5 different sources to ensure that this is a real problem, and then immediately taking the action and switching the traffic using the DNS, practically sub-minute reaction, and we see it in the real, we're seeing in the graphs. When the problem happens, we actually can see it much before the CDNs, because sometimes the problem is not in the CDN. Sometimes the problem is in the data center, especially local problems. It's in ISP, in data centers. The CDN don't have even the visibility to see it in the right way.
How are you, Edward?
I'm good.
Perfect, perfect. So yeah, and actually, I've been following IO for some time now.
Thank
I mean, some time, like a few years. How long do you guys operate? Since 22, was it? Or
2022.
yeah, okay. And it's interesting actually that when I was on your LinkedIn some time ago, I saw that you were actually, maybe that was like a year ago or so. I saw you were writing about the current state of CDNs on the market, and it's funny coincidence. I was actually part of one of those CDNs. My background, actually, my professional background starts in 2012 when I was part of Mac CDN, and then it was acquired by StackPad. So I was, running um, operations on that side for like different teams, and I was also like my company that's in consulting business and slash outsourcing. We were like 55 people operations. Team that handled a lot of different stuff. So was quite involved actually in everything that was happening right before, it was shut down. So it was funny when I was reading your post. It was saying a lot about like what decisions companies made along the way that like push them off the rail. I guess it was something like that. It was a long time ago, but it kind of got stuck because it was an interesting topic for me. It still is. I mean, CDN is one of my favorite technologies out there right now. So yeah, what's your opinion right now when it comes to CDN? Like, where are
I
we?
feel that the industry is became much more healthy. If the AI in these days, AI impact, my guess, on everything around us,
Yeah.
and there are industries which are heated as a result of the AI revolution or negatively impacted, and you can see it in the public markets. The SaaS, all the SaaS area, and got significantly impacted, and there are significant degradations in the valuations, and the stock's going down.
Yeah.
From other side, the edge industry, this CDN is an old name for the edge, but
Yeah.
the edge industry i- is rapidly growing. It's in the best position that it was for a very long period of time. It's almost double the valuation in the last year,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay. I didn't know
six
that.
times six times higher increase than the Nasdaq.
Interesting.
Akamai reached the highest valuation since 2000,
Hmm.
almost highest for 25, more than 25 years.
Yeah.
Um, so from this perspective, I think it looks like the AI revolution impact very positively
Hmm.
uh, on this industry. It's clear that this industry will be a key player in the new world that evolving in these days. And this industry also become much more profitable. So if in the past, except Akamai, all the companies, including StackPass,
Hmm.
lost money, uh, today this business become more and more profitable. So Akamai is profitable. Fastly was already profitable a quarter ago, and they will be profitable, I'm sure. They continue to be profitable as we go. Cloudflare, in my opinion, moving to profitability, and you can see it with the cut of their headcount by 1,000 people. I guess that one of the key outcomes of that will be that the Cloudflare will become or moving practically to be a profitable company. Um, so this industry become more and more healthy from financial perspective, growing faster than the general high-tech landscape, and definitely will be key player in the next in the world that AI creating for us these days.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, you can literally see shifting that in for like past, I don't know, 2 decades ago, you would have to wait years to see how different technologies take new forms and shift from one form to another, or even pivot. But right now, you can see it like month to month, the things are changing rapidly. With that in mind, can you tell me like what was when you think about the very beginning of IO River, what was the problem that you saw and you said, okay, I can solve this. I have a solution for this.
So, so before me establishing IO River, I led the core platform at Akamai for years, and in my last year at Akamai, I have experienced something that I've never experienced before. We actually decided to freeze the network for a year
What does
to
that
kind
mean?
of no changes going into the network.
Oh, okay.
Free, no more innovation. Just practically almost come and say, listen, guys, listen, engineering organization. It will be better that you will not introduce anything, and then you will introduce something to the network. And the reason for that was because we experienced two global outages in a single quarter, similar to what Cloudflare probably experienced in the last few months. Um, and then we understood that practically it doesn't matter which innovation we will bring to the network, the cost of mistake is higher than any value that this innovation could bring. So practically, if you think about it, after I left Akamai, I looked at my last year there and I said, listen, this industry is stuck. It cannot move because no matter what this industry is trying to do, the risk is too high.
Yeah.
And with the AI revolution and the fact that there are more and more personalized, it's easier to create digital content. There are more and more personalized digital content. This industry couldn't, answer on the challenges that's standing in front of us. And we should change it. And the way that I believe it should be changed is by stopping to rely on a single edge provider and build more resilient edge solution. If you're looking on that, this industry is rooted in the 90s. Akamai established in
Yeah.
the end of the 90s. And we stuck there. We stuck in the 90s with the assumption that all the traffic in the world will go through single edge provider. It doesn't make any sense. And this is what we tried to solve at IO River. We wanted to do two main things. One is democratize the edge, allow to more and more edge providers, not only these giants, to go to serve the digital content, but also to the local providers. And we might talk later about the different local edge providers and how they can and should become a significant part of the infrastructure which deliver the global traffic. And the second thing is breaking the bundle which created on the edge between the infrastructure and application services. It doesn't make sense that if you are a Akamai's customer for Edge and you need a firewall, WAF, web application firewall, you have only one choice, and it's Akamai firewall. When you are running Kubernetes on AWS, you can use managed Kubernetes of AWS. You can build your Kubernetes cluster by yourself. You can use tens, if not hundreds, of managed services on AWS to manage the Kubernetes cluster. You should choose the best solution that fit for your needs. On the edge, it's not the case. On the edge, if you're using Akamai as your edge, you have only one option.
Yeah. On the solution for my headphones. Let me just do this real quick. It's actually okay. Can you say something just to make sure that I hear you?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Funny you should mention that actually, because that's one of the technology shifts that we can observe in CDN industry that previously actually happened. I think it was you mentioned also Kubernetes, but the shift there that happened, it was like abstraction layer was used at some point as a place where the actual value is placed, right? And then Kubernetes was taking over the lead, and it's like, okay, so now you can do this. Now you can have more advantage, more control, uh, essentially get the same thing, but the abstraction layer is now much more essentially in your control, right? So what you're trying to say is, um, and actually, I think you also wrote about this on LinkedIn, I think, how security and delivery should be separated, essentially. So I have a question. I'm not sure if I have an issue with that. It's perfectly sensible thing to claim, but I have a question there. So if you do that and without then further acquiring or um, building a new company or new product that will ingest traffic from your end users and be able to implement the security layer on it, then essentially you are again in control. And you wanna remove the one entity controlling this security layer, right? So which way can we see that going? Because the way iRiver operates is you are handling traffic on DNS level, and then you have this one place through which traffic has to go through in order for my traffic to be protected, right? With WAF. So then you do have this one place where traffic actually has to go through, and you're in control of it, right?
So the answer is no.
Okay.
We provide what we are doing. We provide a real high available solution. You're right that in iRiver, the steering of the traffic, of how you split the traffic, is today we are doing it using DNS, but it also could do via HTTP and for video players and the client side methods. But we steer the traffic. We steer it, let's say, with DNS. So we steer the traffic, and then the traffic landing on the edge. Whether if before iRiver it's landing on a single edge, now with iRiver it could land on Akamai, Fastly, Cloudflare, CloudFront, and so part of the traffic will go through one provider, part of it will go through another provider. Then for the security, iRiver does not introduce additional tier.
Okay.
We are not introducing a tier which all the traffic is going through. We are leveraging the edge compute technology that developed on the edge. So if in the past, on the CDN, in the box of the CDN on the edge, you had only caching and the traffic acceleration, today they allow you to write a code as part of the request processing that can control, manipulate, change the request on the edge. We are leveraging these technologies. We're leveraging the edge compute, which happens on the edge. It happens on the edge box of Akamai, on the edge box of Fastly,
Yeah.
on the edge of Cloudflare.
But I have a question there. So that's all fine. Well, actually, this is a question in regards to one of the products slash features that you have. So it's virtual edge. Essentially, you don't touch my traffic. You are handling my traffic as a customer via DNS, and then you're directing me to either one or the other or third CDN and so on and so on. So how do I purchase edge compute from iRiver? Is it still placed on the edge that belongs to Akamai or Cloudflare and so on, or it's something that actually you control and it's in your
No, we are
domain?
purchase, you mean how you buy these edge compute capabilities?
How do I use it essentially? Is it
How,
yeah.
so, iRiver is very flexible to the customers. There are customers which already has a relationship with multiple edge providers, and they have a contract and relationship with them, and then they can just bring their contracts to iRiver. They practically maintain their relationship with the providers. They maintain their contracts with iRiver, and they can bring their contracts, and their contracts including delivery, including compute, including other edge related stuff. The other option, if I'm today using a single provider and I want to go to multi-edge, now I can go and create a relationship and contracts with the additional edge providers, or I can leverage iRiver's partnerships that we have, and we are partnering with majority of the market to be able to provide their traffic. So this is, and then in this case, all the delivery, edge compute, and things like that, you are getting bundled as part of the service. And also, iRiver created a virtual edge, created the multi-CDN a solution, and then we package it as a multi-edge or multi-CDN in a box. So you can actually take from iRiver kind of a single edge provider, which underneath already using multiple edge providers, and then of course it will come also with the traffic through these providers.
Got it. Okay. You mentioned something earlier about how you control traffic. If I'm not mistaken, you have like multiple models of how do you balance traffic between different CDNs. Can you tell more about it? I saw something about 80/20, I think you have, and
So,
dynamic,
so
right?
we have so actually, we have a AI-based traffic steering mechanism. We are relying on many sensors and many inputs for performance and availability. In the web world, you want to monitor your traffic using synthetic testing, and you want to monitor your traffic using real user monitoring. We
And
are
what's the
using
difference?
both. So synthetic testing means that you have probes, you have agents around the world
Mhm.
that kind of behave as a customer that trying to access to your content.
Okay.
And you measure availability and performance from every geolocation. Real user monitoring means I collecting information from real users regarding their consumption from performance and availability perspective. There are advantages and disadvantages to each one of these methods. The real user monitoring represent kind of a real data, but you depend on the fact that there are these users and on the fact and their data is very noisy because they might enter to tunnel and
Mm.
then tunnel related to CDN. So all the information that's coming from real user monitoring, it's much more noisy than the information that comes from synthetic testing, which is much relying on much more stable environment, which testing it. And therefore, this is the key advantage of synthetic testing, to have a reliable measurements that allow you to ahead of time to detect issues, detect changes in more statistically accurate way. But you should complete it with the picture of the RAM. So we compile all these sources. We have our own synthetic testing. We're partnering with Checkpoint, with Catchpoint. We are partnering for with the NS1. We are today including the CMCD, the video players, client-side statistics as part of that. We are crunching all this information to take a decisions and forecast how to write to move the traffic in order to achieve best performance in best cost efficiency in case that you have different contract, different pricing, different structures. We are entering all these things to the AI engine that online allows us to steer the traffic to optimize performance, cost, and of course, reliability.
Got it. So you're combining the two sources of different metrics using AI to make a decision.
Yeah, we combine online. I think today we are relying on 4 different sources of performance and availability. We compile all these sources in real time using AI engine to take decisions how to steer the traffic. The steering of the traffic itself, the split is done in most of the cases, using DNS, and there we are using high available DNS solution. So it's also fully redundant. We are using NS1, we are using R53, and therefore no matter practically in case of iRiver, doesn't matter whether iRiver is going down, the DNS provider is going down, CDN provider is going down, the end user traffic will continue to work, everything will be fine. And it's amazing to see it when in the reality there are problems.
Yeah.
When Cloudflare went down, when CloudFront went down, it was amazing to see how the platform reacted for our customers. Their service preserved no impact at all on their service, while all the world was hungry and busy and busy with understanding of what they are doing while Cloudflare or CloudFront is down.
And essentially, that's one of the directions to which CDN will go, right? So
Yes.
the way I see it, I might be wrong, but iRiver might as well, at some future of ours, can become a matter of acquiring object of one of the bigger players, and then you are becoming an orchestrating layer that will then consolidate all these different CDNs into a service that can, from the eyes and experience of the user, is 100% uptime, and in the background there is this huge orchestrating layer directing traffic from one to, like, however in the background you want to have CDNs.
Yeah, I think that iRiver, this is the multi-edge this is the only way to achieve 4 or 5 nines of availability. There is no single provider cannot reach these numbers. So this is the only way that and the industry need to go to high resiliency. This is the only way to achieve it.
But you still have to have providers like Akamai, Cloudflare, all those people with infrastructure in place so that you can actually do the orchestration that user needs, right?
Definitely. The CDN providers, the infrastructure providers, they are critical components of the internet. Of course, we are not coming to replace Akamai, Fastly, Cloudflare. We are partner with them.
No.
We are creating the next generation of the edge. We are creating. We are breaking this bundle between the infrastructure and application services. We are allowing to also not only to these giants, but also to the local players to take part of that. We allow to the local to different countries, to the different local players with different privacy, security restrictions to operate, and still to all of us to consume the data everywhere. And so it's a kind of it's a new category. The virtual edge is a new way. It's not it's not a classic CDN. And the classic CDNs, classic edge infrastructures, they are key components in the internet. They will stay there. They will grow, and we see them grow. And we are partner with practically almost all of them. So and we are not coming to replace it. I just want to comment on one thing. You said that at some point one of the giants will acquire Dio River, and it will allow them to create this this high resiliency edge, or to provide as a service their high resiliency edge. I think our river will become a huge company.
I hope so.
I'm
If you
sure.
if you don't decide to sell, that is, of course, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And there are no any plans like that.
Yeah. So I like the way you framed it. It reminded me actually of how Terraform didn't replace any of the like cloud vendors. It became orchestrating layer for multi-cloud usage essentially. I want to go back to one thing to actually, yeah, it's something I also saw on LinkedIn you were writing about, and it's quite recent history in a sense that it actually affects a lot of different businesses, clouds and service companies alike. But these groupings, or like rather, if you want to say separation from EU and US, mainly EU and US networks legally, infrastructurally, and otherwise. Where do you think this goes? Because it starts with legal.
I don't think it's limited to EU. I think it's
Mhm.
actually it started take a look what happens with China.
Okay.
Akamai had a worldwide service. It's a worldwide service. Akamai decided a year ago to go out of China. And in China there are regulations. That in China the government, the country is operating in the way that there is a demand to provide to the government, to the authorities,
Yeah.
much more control on the traffic, much more visibility, and to what happened in their country, and it's their right. Again, it's totally fine. Again, every country, every uh, uh, um,
They were always a special case anyways. With Europe, it's more sophisticated than that.
no, in Europe, the European one is the other side of China.
Yeah,
From European perspective, they are extremely advanced in the privacy side. They are in the opposite side of that. So they have a very strict regulations that talking about the privacy. And it started with GDPR, but today there are DORA and there are others
Kritis.
resilient and privacy requirements. And then, which the European Union think and believe that this is the right way to operate as a countries, and it's valid. But from other side, then US is coming and saying, listen, I'm not accept part of it. It's too, you went too far with that. And it's also legitimate. Again, the US as a country might decide, okay, it's fine. You want to operate and required following things. We agree with 90% of that, but with 10% of that, we think differently.
Yeah.
And we would like that this 10% will look differently in our country. And now, when you are finally go and trying to buy Nike website, it doesn't matter whether you are in Europe or you are in the US or you are in the US or you are in the China. You want to be able to do it. From other side, if you are in Europe, physically in Europe, you should follow the European rules, right? Because you are in Europe, you should respect. You enter to the country, you enter to the union, you should respect the way that this union is behaved. If you are currently traveling in China, you should respect the Chinese government. It's totally fine. Again,
Of
it's
course.
your choice to be there. If you chose to be there, you should understand that you work based on the Chinese way that they are operating. And if you are in US, you should work based on the US. So now each one of these governments units create a different requirements to these network infrastructures. And it's different. So now if you want to be a single worldwide network infrastructure, you should build and adjust the way that your network is working to each one of these regulations. And it's tough. And therefore you see Akamai is going out from China. You see the fact that the European Union understand that today they are practically fully dependent on the US based edge network technologies. If today the US based edge platforms will decide to shut down their operation in the US, the US government doesn't have a way to communicate with their people. All the media services, all the financial services, everything is 100% rely on US-based on US-based companies. And then when they are coming and saying, listen, we want to have some regulation in place, there is a challenge.
Of course.
So you can start see now edge providers. You have in Europe providers like Bunny.net, like mainstreaming. They are not large as a global edge providers like Akamai and Cloudflare and Fastly. They are much smaller. Part of them much more regional. They are operating in some areas. They have a very good coverage there. They are much more better aligned with the regulations that's required in EU. But from other side, if I'm a customer and I want to provide access to my content everywhere around the world, because you from Europe tomorrow can go to US and you still would like to buy your Zara t-shirt, right? And you should be able to do it. So you cannot rely on these local providers as only single local provider. And from other side, if I'm e-commerce provider, it's tough for me to go and work with tens of these different edge providers. I need somebody that will do this virtualization. And the one that doing this virtualization is iRiver. He's creating this is why it's virtual edge.
What about, so I have to interrupt you there. I'm sorry about this, but it just popped a question in my head. So I know that it happens sometimes even within the EU. For example, Germany has more strict laws when it comes to privacy of personal data, more strict than, let's say, Poland. And then it will happen that your customers who are relying on traffic that your platform is managing through DNS forbids access to certain content which violates the regional rules of Germany. So how do you handle that? Do you have to think about geographical DNS shifting based on the country even, or even more granular than that?
Of course, and it's done today. This is what iRiver doing. It's providing you a very granular geo-based control, and then think about it. It's not only about the privacy. You have telecom providers. Telecom providers also provide historically edge solutions. With iRiver, they're backing to the play. Because they can serve only the traffic that's coming from their networks. So you cannot use them for worldwide distribution. But in the virtual edge, they can start take parts of the traffic which coming from their network. And it makes sense for them, for the end users.
Yeah,
And also for these global providers, because these global providers cannot put their equipment everywhere, no matter how much traffic you have, no matter
of course.
what you're doing. Finally it's become too expensive. The utilization of their hardware is going down, and as a result of that, their profitability is going down. It doesn't make sense. They will be profitable as soon as they will succeed to keep their utilization high enough, and serve in the good way the customers. But it's a compromises.
Yeah.
And when you have a local, if when you do this mix, the end users enjoy more. The global players still taking most of the traffic will go through them because this is the reality. And the end user is continue to do what it's doing today, just
Which
browse the
is
internet.
which is the end goal essentially. That's what. Yeah. So I remember when I was when we were servicing Mac CDN a long time ago. I remember this case that reminds me of part of the story that we're having right now. But quick switching of traffic in emergency situations, like you have to quickly or like immediately you have to switch traffic from one CDN to another. So I remember we were actually controlling the Anycast. We were in control and we were able to do it instantly. How does this change with the way you are handling multi-CDN traffic?
So for us it's taking sub minute reaction
Interesting.
program. We
So quick.
are very quick. We have thousands of agents around the world to identify outage together with the additional signals. We are and we are doing a monitoring, frequent monitoring of sub-minute worldwide to get the picture and understanding where there are suspicion for problem. When we identify suspicion for problem, we are focused all our monitoring capabilities to double check, because there are in some cases, there might be false alarm. The fact that something looks bad doesn't mean that there is a real problem. But so when we have a suspicion, we are doing hundreds of tests in a few seconds from 4 or 5 different sources to ensure that this is a real problem, and then immediately taking the action and switching the traffic using the DNS, practically sub-minute reaction, and we see it in the real, we're seeing in the graphs. When the problem happens, we actually can see it much before the CDNs, because sometimes the problem is not in the CDNs. Sometimes the problem is in the data center, especially local problems. It's in ISP, in data centers. The CDN don't have even the visibility to see it in the right way. So we identify the problem in some cases. I remember the last AWS CloudFront outage. We identified the problem, moved the traffic hour before AWS announced that there is a problem.
Interesting.
So the reaction is very quickly, and the end users really doesn't feel practically anything. But the fallback is much slower. And when you are doing a fallback and return the traffic back, it's more than seconds, because you want to verify that the recovered network is operating well. You are shifting the traffic slowly, ensure that everything is okay. But again, it's a question of half hour. The traffic is after recovery of the network, the traffic will come back to the desired policies, to the desired behavior.
Right. And so the security layer that you added on top of your offering, you partnered with, remind me, what was the company? You
We're
partnered.
partnering we partner with multiple companies. The announcements that we
Mhm.
already did is with Checkpoint. We are partnering with Checkpoint, one of the largest security companies. They're operating since 90s.
Yeah,
They brought all the firewalls to the world and things like that. It's a native security company. If you're looking on Akamai, on Fastly, even on Cloudflare, they are not a native security companies. They didn't grow
of
from
course.
security.
Yeah.
They were edge infrastructure companies that understood that all the traffic going through the edge, and it makes sense to implement security features on the edge, and and added more and more features, but their nature is not a security. Checkpoint compared to that this is what they're doing for 30 years.
Yeah.
And they have amazing WAF capabilities, amazing API security capabilities. But they don't have the edge. They're not on the edge. And today, all these security services happens on the edge. So we are together bring a checkpoint intelligence to the edge.
Tell me about friction or latency now between let's say that I'm a customer and I'm using edge compute and I need WAF. So how do you bridge this gap, or rather, how do you ensure that there is no latency between my traffic going through WAF? WAF does its checking and says, okay, this is healthy traffic, and then it, passes it through. So these are two essentially different services, and they have to operate in the same edge for me as a user not to see any friction, right?
Exactly. So what happens if you're using Akamai WAF or what happens? Your HTTP request arrives to the Akamai box. Your Akamai box decrypt the traffic, doing checking, doing caching, so verify whether the data in the cache. Then it can do WAF rules. They are running, verify whether the traffic is legitimate. Then they are also running edge compute, custom functions that can handle this traffic. And then, if it's needed, they are sending the request to the origin, to the data center where the data is. We are running exactly in the edge compute layer, practically in the same process where the WAF of the CDN is running.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not sending the traffic to additional tier, or the traffic has additional pop.
That's what I wanted to. I have to interrupt you. Then again, sorry, I'm totally rude here, but I'm interested in this topic. So, what if you have a pop, like or rather, you want to have point of presence in one edge or one location where WAF service is not available? How does that work?
So in the edge compute,
Yeah,
it's available everywhere on all the machines of Akamai.
Okay.
On all the machines of Fastly, on all the machines of Cloudflare. So if you are arriving if there is a problem in this machine, and this machine is going down, the edge provider is responsible to route the traffic to another machine. On the another machine, there is the same edge compute capability. So the traffic is going through exactly same WAF. We are using this edge compute. We are work together with Checkpoint to bring their WAF to the edge, and their WAF includes two main interesting approaches. One is the managed rules, something similar to Akamai, Cloudflare. There are thousands of rules that developed on these companies, and Checkpoint is 30 years, so they have many tens of thousands of different rules to detect malicious traffic. But beside that, there is AI model running on the edge, learning legitimate traffic, can identify outliers, and can actually block zero-day attack. I remember myself in the Friday of one of the vulnerabilities. It was Log4j.
Friday. Oh.
Always Friday. Log4j, if you remember.
Yeah, of course.
So I was the senior engineering leader that was in Akamai, responsible at Akamai to respond to this.
So it was like 10 years ago or so.
No, it was I think 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then I remember, I just joined the bridge to handle this crisis. It took us hours to we needed to understand what this vulnerability mean, how to block it, deploy it on the network. And we reacted very fast. Akamai succeeded in a few hours to react to that, but there are these few hours, and others take them a days to react to that. Other edge providers. When you have AI, a model which learning your traffic, it can identify these anomalies immediately. So you have a zero time reaction for vulnerabilities, and it's a model which running on the edge of all these edge providers. And with these two methods together with Checkpoint and their expertise in security, we practically succeeded to build a more advanced WAF capability, which running on the edge. And not only it's running on the edge, it's running across the edge providers. So you are getting the best resiliency because you are leveraging multiple edge providers, but also a better security solution that protect your traffic. The fact that you have a learning model on the edge allow you to reduce the amount of custom rules. If you go to all these today to all these WAF solutions and customers through the years, what they're doing, they're adding rules and rules and rules, and they have hundreds, thousands of rules. After 5 years, how you maintain all these rules, which part of them are already irrelevant. When they are moving to IO River, the result of that very quickly, they reduce the amount of custom rules because they understand, because they can easily cover it by the AI model which learning their traffic, and they're feeling comfortable to remove them and allow to the AI react to that, and by that reduce the amount of false blocks and false positive
False positives, yeah.
results.
Interesting. I was also wondering, but I think now I kind of have maybe even an answer to this, but I was wondering, how do you handle wildcard purges since you're not in control of the, Akamai's infrastructure directly? So do you have to have prepared like templates of different API requests for different vendors? That's why I figured in the meantime.
Yeah, you are right. This is what we're doing. So from purge's perspective, of course, when you do a purge, you want it to be transparent, and every vendor looks a little bit different. And the vendors, they don't, there are many cases the vendor can return, listen, I cannot do a purge now. Okay. So,
Hmm.
so there are mechanisms which ensure that that these purges will happen, and we're keeping them in the batches, and we're doing retries. And finally, with IO River, you're getting much more resilient purge mechanism, which of course underneath leveraging the APIs, we are not go to each one of the machines and clean the caches there. This is the responsibility of the edge providers. They are investing, and therefore, they are doing a great work there. It was improved. I remember days that Akamai took 6 hours to purge
Oh,
content.
wow.
It's unacceptable today, and today it's a seconds. So the responsibility on the maintenance of the platform, of the infrastructure, the responsibilities on how you are managing the content and the configuration on the platform itself. When the platform includes hundreds, thousands of servers, it's a huge challenge that these edge providers handling day by day. And therefore, the application services which sitting on top of that should be totally separated. The last Cloudflare outage that was because of bug in bot management in some application
Yeah.
service that are totally unrelated to the network, that
Yeah.
probably used by, I don't know, 5% of the Cloudflare customers, but a bug in this application service took the entire network down.
Yeah. Tell me about the edge compute part. I think you mentioned somewhere or someone on your LinkedIn page, or maybe when I read it on your website, can't remember, WebAssembly and JavaScript, was it? Okay. How do you handle custom requests? Like, for example, we are, I don't know, like Python shop.
So again, so today each one of the edge providers allow you to write in different languages. So there
Mhm.
are edge providers like, for example, CloudFront, which support
Mhm.
fast, which support Python, but majority of them is not supporting Python. The majority of the edge providers, they support JavaScript. There are more and more which starting to support WASM because it's
Yeah.
practically JavaScript is very popular for a web world. There are a lot of logic written in JavaScript, and the edge compute came to offload the part of your client side complexity that you implement on the client side, and part of the server side to kind of to move part of the server side microservices from the server to the edge. And for that, JavaScript is a classic language. This is the reason why all of the edge providers support JavaScript. The second one is the WASM. WASM it's more complicated. It's like, it's more kind of native language than JavaScript. But this is the technology that it started also from the browser side that developed to allow to write native code in the safe way on the browser side. And this technology is now adopted on the edge, and it's allowed to write to create and run very complicated capabilities like we are doing, for example, with WAF and bots. So WAF we are doing with a collaboration with Checkpoint, and we will soon announce on other ones. And bot we are doing a collaboration with Google to do it. So to bring a really tough stuff
Yeah.
in the edge and to run it and execute there.
No, I mean your value proposition is like that's what everyone needs. Like that what everyone wants to hear when they talk CDN, when they talk edge. It's like resiliency. I don't want to think about my vendor going off without them even knowing why. And then, there's like time delay between they figure out the problem, traffic switch, fixing the problem, moving back the traffic. It's the value proposition is very tenable here, and I think that's one of the best things about iRiver, honestly. It's really something everyone can grasp and understand. And so with that in mind, then who do you think your main customer is? Who's the ICP of iRiver right now?
So I think as iRiver, we started initially from more media side of media verticals, like kind of OTT media publishers, gaming, ad tech companies. I think that the technological stack that was required there was a little bit more limited compared to the needs of SaaS, e-commerce, travel and hospitality. In this side, the virtual edge, the security part is very, very significant. And it took us a time to build a appropriate solution, appropriate WAF solution, appropriate bot solution. So our ICP started from more media side,
Mhm.
from the basics, from the fundamental, from the basic stuff of edge delivery and edge, and then slowly we are moving more and more to the website, to the online gaming, to SaaS, to eco, and later on we'll go to e-commerce and other areas. Still, there are a lot of things iRiver is a startup. Finally, we are progressing very fast. We are developing very fast, but there are very attractive things in front of us, including AI. The AI world is changing the edge. There are
What's your plan in that area, actually? I didn't cross my mind to go there.
the AI. It's clear that the inference part of the inference in the world will happen on the edge because there is advantage to do the inference, the prompt that meet the model. It
Mhm.
makes sense to do it closer to the end user
Yeah, makes
because of
sense.
this, because of the latency and because of the scalability of these edge platforms. high availability, scalability, all this stuff. You want to do it closer to the end. You want to do it closer to the end user. In these days, when you're looking from latency perspective, still the time that it's taking uh, uh, to answer on the prompt with the model, the compute that is required, the time it's taking to execute the inference itself is still significant. And over time, we'll see that this time become more and more efficient because we're just at the beginning of that. From other side, the latency couldn't be changed. It couldn't be changed in the last 30 years. There is a physics there that it's easier to bring a content if you are trying to get it a few kilometers from you than from the other side of the world. And then we will start see that the latency that caused by network is become more and more significant to the time that it's taking to execute the prompting against the model. And the importance of the edge for inference will grow and grow over time as a result of that. So the edge will take a significant part. So we will see models going to the edge. We see the vendors doing different things on the edge. From IO River's perspective, we are sitting in a very interesting place because we are, in the IO River initially allowed you efficiently route the traffic for your static traffic. Then the second thing, IO River allow you efficiently route your compute because you are part of the things doing on the edge compute. So now you can IO River efficiently provide high resilient and access to your compute on the edge. The next thing is IO River will efficiently allow you to access to the AI resources, and you don't really care on which infrastructures these models are running. You want to get consistent and the resilient answer on your request, especially if your request is not human, it's part of your service. If your service now is relying on AI capabilities, AI, on the execution of these AI inferences, it must be latency predictable. It must be fast and performance consistent. It must be reliable because your service is fully dependent on that. And the IO River will practically allow to the world to reach this consistency, reliability for accessing to the AI.
So what's the vision for IO River essentially? Where do you see the company in 5 to 10 years?
So I think that AI. So I think there are several things. One is IO River will democratize the edge, allow to more and more suppliers of the edge to join and be part of the global delivery. This is one thing. The second thing is that IO River will break the bundling between the application services and the infrastructure, allow to more companies join to the edge, contribute to the edge, and IO River will be the enabler for that. And in the third wave, with the AI revolution, IO River will allow to the AI consumers to get cost-efficient, predictable, reliable AI services, which evolving very, very quickly in these days. And this is one of the challenges of this world. The things, like you said, the things changing on the monthly basis. You finally should not the entire world is succeed to meet this stamp, and IO River will allow the customers to get this service not only as a prototype for prototype prototyping, but also to allow to productize and build critical services that required persistent, high available, resilient components behind them. And without iRiver, it will be practically impossible.
I agree. I agree. So throughout these few years now, like 4 years, I guess, what would you say that what's the lessons, what are the mistakes you think you made along the way that made you more wiser in this area while building iRiver?
So I figured when we started, we wanted to jump immediately to the water and go to the website of the world, and we learned that the stack there, which we should provide to meet the security there uh, is since the security there is a critical part, and in security, like WAF, it's art. You cannot really test WAF. You cannot. We have our own WAF solution, but we don't have how you test it. Finally,
You give
there
it
is
to
no.
bounty hunters, I guess, bug hunters, right?
Yeah, it's not the customers are not doing that. They are rely on the name. They rely on on these companies which has a significant research organizations, and they rely on them. So at the beginning, while we try to go and come and say, listen, let's go to resiliency. Yes, they're saying we are all in for resiliency, but you ask us to compromise on the brand of our security, and this compromise was too complicated, and we learned from that, and we understood that we should start our journey from the media side, and we should build the partnerships. And our way to go to there is not by trying to build everything, like for example, Cloudflare doing. They're building everything. We are not.
Why do you think it's like that? We saw that with the expansion of cloud and AWS. Now you're right. I mean, Cloudflare is doing something similar. Why do you think is it like that? Is it because of the demand or because they're looking to get ahead of the competition or?
First of all, Cloudflare is an amazing company. They have a good service. They are one of the leaders in this industry. And then they are trying to provide as much as more services to their customers. As more services they provide, the customers depended more on their solution.
Yeah. Okay.
And the stickiness with their solution is become more and more significant. And then it's in the benefit for Cloudflare.
Well, I
So I
mean,
think
the reason why I ask that is because I can, as a customer of Cloudflare, I can tell you that I like to have everything in one place. I go to AWS because there's everything I need there. I don't have to, think about different layers, etc. And so Cloudflare is doing that as well for the web-related stuff. At least that's what I use it for. And then it's nice to know that you have WAF as well as CDN in one place. Essentially, that's what StackPath wanted to do with much broader,
mhm,
palette of actually of sub-products
mhm,
that would be layered one on top of each other
mhm.
on the edge. So then you as a user can actually choose what you need. Right? So it's a good idea. And from the user perspective, I can totally see the angle and why they're doing that. But
Definitely. But there is a difference between AWS and Cloudflare. In AWS focus on the infrastructure. They're providing infrastructure, and they're
of course,
partnering with tons of different providers, which providing values on the edge. While Cloudflare is coming and saying, "I am a single provider. You need database. It's our database. If we don't have a database, you don't have database on the edge."
okay, you're right. Yeah,
So iRiver, I totally agree with that. iRiver is also providing you, similar to Cloudflare, a full solution. You want by checkbox to have WAF. You don't want to go to another vendor, buy additional solution. You want to have a checkbox and have all these solutions inside. But it doesn't mean that iRiver should develop the core of this WAF. We can do it by partnering with others, which it's their expertise. The amount of research people in security which sitting in Checkpoint is much higher the amount of security researchers that sitting in Cloudflare. So if we are, instead of trying to build by ourselves, we are partnering, but from end user perspective, it's exactly the same thing. You are getting one platform that you can do everything, fully transparent, very easy to use, but you are not compromising on the quality of this application services. And you have a full freedom to change and adjust. If you are using WAF and you need a premium WAF for one set of traffic, but you have a less premium requirements for another set of traffic. In Cloudflare, it's impossible. You have only one option, something in the middle.
Yeah.
At iRiver, it's not the case. In iRiver, you can take for your premium traffic, let's say Checkpoint WAF, and for another traffic that it's less risky, but you need their WAF, you can take less premium WAF. You can use iRiver WAF. You can use other WAF solutions. It's give you much more flexibility to adjust what you need.
Right.
That's the solution to your needs, and this is exactly what happens in AWS.
Yeah.
AWS does not enforce you to use their application services. Yes, they provide part of them, but you also, in the same easy way, can consume other application services on top of AWS. And we are doing exactly the same thing on the edge. And therefore, I think that and we're partnering with all these, with Cloudflare and Fastly and Akamai. They are critical vendors. The world will not live without them. But with iRiver, we're creating
no, it's completely different.
For the customers.
You're not competing on the same scale at all. I mean, you're providing value. As I said earlier, like your value proposition is on a different scale. You're providing orchestration for already existing infrastructure for user not to care, not to think about resiliency. So it's a huge step up from using on a lower level directly everything on Cloudflare, where you can actually make it like a layered structure using orchestrator like iRiver. It's not the same game, I mean, at all. It's now the flavor that end users should be choosing what they need and what they can live with, I guess.
I agree.
Okay, cool. I actually left one for the end. I wanted to ask you, like, can you tell me from your perspective here, like, who were the people who influenced your professional or personal life the most?
So it's definitely the number one is definitely my wife. I think that
Good answer.
without her, I couldn't be who I am today, and definitely not develop personally my career and not build the things that I'm building today. So he's definitely the number one person that impact on my life. And during the journey, I'm lucky to work with extremely smart people. Where our world today is including so many experienced people, so many smart people. I think that iRiver is a team, is a team of people that building and disrupt a market which must be disrupted in order to allow all of us to move forward in the technological space.
And make end users' lives easier in the process.
Definitely.
Cool, perfect. Well, Edward, thank you so much for your time, and I much appreciate it. I had a great conversation, great time talking to you because like CDN, as I said, is one of my favorite technologies for some reason. It's probably because it was my gateway to like entrepreneurial waters, and it really got stuck with me for all these years.
Thank
So
you. Thanks
it
for
was
your time.
refreshing to hear another perspective on the industry from like someone like you. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.